This table shows Apple reporting $383.3 billion in 2023 net sales, the same year they introduced Vision Pro, cementing massive hardware profitability. Look further down, you see their reach expanding to 2 billion active devices. Tim Cook architected this peak. He ran Apple with an iron grip on the user experience, demanding total control over the supply chain, pushing aggressive 2030 climate targets, and declaring privacy a fundamental human right. Apple dictated exactly how its hardware and software interacted. They built a closed, highly regulated ecosystem that kept users locked inside and external competitors locked out. But generative AI required a completely different architecture. The industry standard relied on pulling user prompts out of the local device and processing them in massive server farms. For Apple, exporting that much user data broke their core promise of privacy. Then, in April 2026, the tech world absorbed a massive shock. Tim Cook stepped down as CEO. The board appointed John Ternus. The market reaction to the news was incredibly muted. To outside observers, putting a lifelong hardware engineer in charge during a software-driven artificial intelligence boom seemed counterintuitive, conspiratorial. Yet placing a hardware expert at the top was a highly defensive maneuver. Apple was locking down its physical borders to keep external AI models out of its devices. This graphic shows the architecture of the Apple M1 chip. Ternus led the transition, dropping third-party Intel processors for Apple's custom silicon. Look at the neural engine. This dedicated hardware handles complex machine learning computations incredibly fast, right on the motherboard. Designing their own processors meant Apple no longer had to wait on external manufacturers. They owned the entire stack, from the physical chip to the user interface. It also enabled a concept known as sovereign AI. Instead of renting cloud space from competitors to run artificial intelligence models, a company runs those algorithms locally on its own custom hardware. Building proprietary custom silicon is notoriously difficult. Ternus had already proven he could execute it at a global scale, making him the exact executive needed to drive this local AI strategy. Industry peers routinely harvest and send sensitive user queries to off-site data centers. Apple's corporate proxy statements explicitly declare that privacy is a fundamental human right. The sovereign AI approach eliminates the external server. The complex algorithms are processed right inside the phone you are holding. When the computation happens locally, your personal data is trapped inside the physical hardware. The threat of external data scraping vanishes. But executing heavy artificial intelligence models locally requires an enormous amount of computing power to be physically manufactured and embedded into every new device. By baking AI processing directly into the silicon, Apple turned a philosophical stance on privacy into a physical engineering constraint. Competitors cannot extract data from a phone that simply refuses to send it. The promotion of John Ternus reflects a systematic effort to eliminate external dependencies. You see it in their push to make their entire supply chain completely carbon neutral by 2030, and you see it in their code. If Apple had to rely on external companies for their generative AI, they would be licensing someone else's intelligence. They would lose the ability to dictate exactly how a user interacts with their own screen. Running these models natively ensures Apple pays zero computing fees to external cloud providers and hands over zero user data to train outside networks. They are using their dominance in hardware manufacturing to construct a self-sustaining, impenetrable walled AI garden. Over 2 billion active Apple devices sit in pockets, on desks, and in living rooms globally. With that massive installed base, Apple doesn't need to invent the smartest AI. They just have to be the primary pipeline delivering it. John Ternus now serves as the global gatekeeper for consumer AI adoption. Tim Cook spent 15 years building a highly profitable, tightly controlled ecosystem. Now, John Ternus is using that exact hardware foundation to declare total independence in the AI arms race.